Hey everyone, and welcome back. Finally, my inconsistency is absolutely consistent, so there you go. Can't get me on that one. SDG 8, Sustained, Inclusive, and Sustainable Economic Growth for All. Before we get into that though, just a quick update. Doing the West Coast Trail on Vancouver Island with John was just once in a lifetime opportunity. A couple takeaways and just a few other amazing experiences recently. Just made me think, wow, life is an absolute gift. Engaging with the planet, the natural world on that West Coast Trail was insane. And the people, so cool to see people off their phones, myself included, and just being present in that moment. And wow, what joy that brings. So in my head, I've just been thinking, wow, and it's not a new idea, but just life is a gift. Little 24-hour packets of time and energy and resources. We've been given them. Each day you get to wake up, you've been given this gift of 24 hours, X amount of calories of energy, free time that you can distribute. Or you can choose to keep it to yourself. And it's just that question. What am I using those packets of time and energy and resources for? What does my life actually impact? Is it for me? Is it for growth or economic growth for myself? Or am I investing it into other people? Seeing that those seeds grow in the lives of other people around me. And just my mom and dad's 30th anniversary was just yesterday, and it's just, wow, what a testament to the impact two people can have if they decide to invest those packets of energy and time into other people. That daily choice to choose others over themselves, that idea of giving to others without thought of return. We become beautiful people when we give what we can give. A kiss, a hug, an embrace, a word of love, an encouragement, even financially. That's when our humanity comes to its fullest bloom. So cool. So in light of that, this idea of sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth for all. It's the first SDG where I kind of think, well, is this right? Is this going to lead to that inequality-free world, or that world where we work in a great community? Anyways, targets: sustained per capita growth of 7% globally, diversify economic growth, development-oriented activities, improve resource consumption and production efficiency, achieve full and productive employment for everyone, no forced labor, which is pretty cool, and sustainable tourism practices. Now, the one thing I can really talk to is sustainable tourism, because I just did a project with the UN on sustainable tourism in the small island developing states, which are just, well, the Caribbean SIDS, that's what they're called, are just a group of countries facing similar economic, environmental, and social barriers to sustainable development. One of them says this chase for economic growth at this rate is dangerous for the state of our natural resources, whether or not we have a lot or a little. This idea of tourism for the sake of just looking at the needs of the tourists, because that helps us grow our GDP. Is that actually what it's all about? So what ends up happening because of that siloed push for economic growth just through tourism? Well, cleaning up beaches, which is actually just ridding them of their biodiversity, dumping of all the sanitary waste produced by a tiny island that cannot actually handle that number of people sustainably, and just this putting on of culture that actually just destroys the local culture. Just makes you think, wow, these conversations, sustainable tourism, have been happening since the mid-90s. Mid-90s, there's a statement just ripping into all-inclusive resorts. And it just makes you think, oh my goodness, why haven't I thought about that one time, that my living in paradise for a week? Well, that just means, and then put another person's week in week, you just have this community now of unsustainable living just going on because these people expect to escape the bounds of natural life, their lives. Well, yeah, it's escaping our lives, but we talk about this global economy, so it's not actually escaping our natural world. It's still under those same limits, but we've just pushed up the responsibility for living within those bounds to another place in the world. Just wow, definitely makes you think. So what's an alternative to continued economic growth for the sake of economic growth? Kate Raworth created this idea, circular economy. instead of relying on economies to grow, whether or not they allow us to thrive, which is what we do. So just growth for the sake of growth, whether or not we're thriving. Like kind of our waist size, it's nice to consume more and more food, but is it actually allowing us to thrive? Or about relying on economies. So her view is, how about economies that allow us to thrive, whether or not they grow? That Aboriginal idea of just those living in the cycles of the natural world, rather than just unsustainable chasing for the top, which tends to be more singular, as this idea of growth has put more and more of the world's wealth into a smaller and smaller group of people, and it's just completely destabilized our natural world. At least this is what Kate Raworth puts forward. What's the end? She asks. What happens after the allure of gaining more actually goes away, and gaining more material stuff? What happens when that goes away? So the circular economy, living within the cycles of the natural world. A concept of like a business doing this is waste to resources sanitation. So Safi Sana in Ghana, I went to visit, and they take sanitary waste from slums and turn 100% of it into renewable energy and resources sources. So sanitary waste, like all that gross stuff, into water for irrigation, organic fertilizer, and renewable energy sources, 100%, taking something that we think is just a one direction thing and turning it into a perfect circle. That's the idea of this circular economy. And she it's such a cool concept that I know I've talked to a few people about, this idea of boundaries. We think they're limiting, but boundaries are what actually unleash our potential. That idea of Mozart on his 5-octave piano, Jimi Hendrix on his 6-string guitar. Boundaries allow us to thrive. I think, she just mentioned Serena Williams on tennis court as well. So cool that boundaries spur on our creativity. So how then shall we live? This idea of circular economy versus just economic growth for all. Are we contributing to an economy that is attempting to grow forever, or one that thrives? Are we just growing for the sake of growth? Are we just is our life just about continuing our economy? And so what are aspects of our lives couldn't be done by future generations or other people even in this world at this time? The way we eat, the way we consume. I just bought a way too expensive bicycle, and this is SDG is really challenging me. Can other people do that? Am I investing in me or investing in other people? That idea, growth, maybe growth of our closets, growth of our bike collection, growth of our consumption rate. That's not good. We know that. It's intuitively we know So are we creating an economy where we have more and more ability to get more and more of that stuff? Because we know that not actually. Another more practical way, next time you travel, think about whether your trip is within the ecological bounds of our entire planet. Maybe not just your world. The waste I produce doesn't actually impact me if I'm in the Dominican Republic. It's way over there. No. There's only one ecological ceiling, and we're all under it. And then thirdly, I think this is the main one. Let's get in the habit of giving. Because all of a sudden, if we use our resources not for our growth or our country's growth or our company's growth, if we use our resources so that others can grow, I think that completely switches it. I think all of a sudden that income disparity goes away. If I'm focused on, I have this packet of wealth, I have this resource. Who needs this? Who can I see in my life that needs this? Even if it's joy that I have in my heart right now, who needs that right now? Who's down and out? So even just simple things, our time, volunteer for a cause. I think it's happening less and less, but volunteer for a cause that we believe in. We have so much free time in our lives. Make it happen. Volunteer for a cause you believe in. Our energy. What is your career working towards? Is it working towards economic growth? Or is it working towards allowing your family, allowing yourself to thrive? My roommate Adam just mentioned this thing on sleep, this podcast on sleep that says we are ruining our sleep because our work expectations push our sleep. We cannot get the same number of hours of sleep we used to be able to. And it's completely ruining our health. It's like, okay, well, it does allow our GDP to grow, so I guess it's good. Well, we want to meet our 7%. No. Are we thriving? Does that actually make sense? Is your community, are your relationships thriving? Are the people around you thriving because you're doing that? I don't know. That's questionable. And then our resources. Are we saving up so that we can feel safe, so that we can buy more food, so that we can buy a bigger house, so that we can buy another bicycle, or that we can continue growing? There's only so far we can grow. Are we investing in people who are really in need of it and who can really use it to thrive themselves? We all know that growth isn't good even at a certain point. So anyways, that idea of just giving, if we switch that, giving of ourselves, give without thought of return. As a Christian, we are called to give our entire lives to Christ and actually embody his absolute crazy giving in our lives. Is the eternal child in you living in his Father's house? Is the grace of his ministering life, so that gift that we've been given each day, is the grace of his ministering life, is that ministering life being worked out through you in your home, your business, and in your circle of friends? Is it? That's such a good question to ask. Can I see my wealth, my gift, that gift of grace, can I see that in the lives of other people around me because of that, the fact that I've turned from just bearing it for my own, or am I investing it? And that should be reflected in the lives of us, of the other people around us. That's true wealth, I think. Seeing the people around you thrive, seeing the people around you just be so joyful. Anyways, sorry for rambling too long. See you next week. Can't wait to talk to you guys and see what you're thinking. Have a great day.